So you're playing Sidereal Confluence and you need to learn the Kjas species. Well, you came to the right place. First, if you care, let's learn how to pronounce this species. And I probably can't even pronounce it myself, but I think it's Kjas Kavicdalim. That's the best I can do. Second, you need to know this is a game of compounded interest. Don't invest so hard in technology and upgrades that you leave yourself without resources, because resources are what you need in future turns. So let's read the background for this faction. By now, the Kjas should have colonized dozens of worlds. Their many nations competed to perfect hyperdrive technology, but experiment after experiment failed. It was only later that they realized the truth. The Fadaron had secretly sabotaged their research for decades, denying the Kjas their destiny. Their confluence? Well, the Fadaron offered a new hollow future in return. Become one of many species sharing a galaxy that should have been the Kjas by the right of military prowess. The Fadaron had already managed to forge an alliance of 8 species, too many for the Kjas to fight and live. So grudgingly, the myriad nations allied under a common purpose, to beat the Fadaron at their own game and achieve control over the growing society from the inside. The strong Kjas nationalism comes from their use of pheromones to regulate group emotions and define loyalty. This allows them to cooperate extremely efficiently with anyone who smells like family. For example, their entire nation. Unfortunately, aliens lack strong emotional pheromones and thus can never be completely trusted. This species is played well with players who like a more puzzle-like method of play, and they can, in a way, play their own game without needing a trade as much as others. Although, again, you probably could do better if you do trade. But they can mostly ignore technology more than others can. So the Kjas has military might because they can split their colony bid in half in order to gain 2 colonies. This, of course, would require a higher bid because that bid needs to be split down. For example, a bid of 4 becomes 2 bids of 2, or a bid of 5 becomes 1 of 3 and a second of 2. Then when it comes time to actually buying a colony or passing, they can decide to either buy a colony that is equal to or less than a current half bid, or pass and keep their half bid. Also, in between these bids, the number of colonies that is owned with increase, and this will change the tiebreaker for the second half bid. But with the bidding powers, players can choose to use their ability to block other players of getting more worlds, or threaten to do so for economic means. You will want to try to get 3 colonies per turn. Your double bid will get you 2, so you'll need to buy the last one from another player. Some ideas to do this is to be able to buy the colony bid of another player who has run out of colony space. This could or would be the Imdrill or the Unity if they are in your game. If the Kit are in the game, then you can get cheap colonies from them and then consume them to play your tiles. You will also need yellow cubes and play the colonies and yellow cubes for your territory tiles. So if the Kit are in play, try to get a few colonies that can be upgraded to produce a yellow in the early game. Another possible option to get yellow is to run Perfume Pheromone Loyalty every turn. This will give you a yellow and other large cubes that can be used to trade for more yellows. The last thing to know about yellows, you can also try to get the ubiquitous cultural repository and hyperspace mining with your research teams, and then when getting them, just never build them. Because remember, everyone else will gain these the next turn, and it will cause everyone to use their yellows with it. So get those cards and never build them. There will be more yellows in the game because of it. So, territory tiles. What are those? Well, you will start with 3 territory tiles, which are treated as if they were cards. You won't be able to start with these, but you can run the converter on the top of these tiles in any order to get them into play, and once in play, they can be upgraded, flipping the tile over and running both or all 3 converters the back of the tiles show. Both of these converters can be run during the trade phase, and like all cards, they can be loaned to other players for a turn. Also, you can see that these converters require certain type of worlds that will need to be input into the converter to get these tiles. But these tiles in themselves have really good converters to run, putting in small amounts of goods to then make a large amount of other goods. Now, you will rule the colony acquisitions and even the research team acquisitions, but you should aggressively take colonies other people want and then trade them to those players for a profit. You will honestly need so many colonies yourself. Don't worry about getting the ones that you need. Now, try to get 6 colonies, your limit, before playing or flipping over your tiles. Never play or flip a tile over if you can't immediately run it, or can't keep running it for the rest of the game. You are not expected to get every territory tile that you have into the game by the end of the game, but you have some choices as to which ones you would like. But the preferred order is first the balkanized states because they are cheap and make bidding easier, but would only put this into play if there are spare blue and greens and a strong need for white. Then Hadzja for their economy, and finally Vagenleg for late game victory points. But really, you'll want to play tiles based on the game's economy as well. So find out what's expensive and what's cheap and what each player really wants or needs. Then play tiles that run on cheap resources and produce what is most needed in the game. Again, you're not going to get every tile out, and you will need to plan for the mid to late game. Don't worry about not getting those out the first few rounds. Something else I should mention is that when this species is involved in the game, they count twice towards the number of players when figuring out the colony bid track. For example, if they're playing a 5-player game with this species, it would be considered a 6 game in regards to the colony bid track. This species is recommended for someone who wants an easy species only because their economy can recover if you crash it. However, they are hard to win with because you need to plan for the long term with them to win. They are known as the jack of all trades, with the second best way to change economic demands, second best way to focus on output, the second best economic potential. To do well, you need a mixed strategy. And lastly, if the Kalion are in place, save a few ships each bidding phase to sell to them. And even if they aren't in, it might be worth saving some for players who might need some. The Iniet and the Fataron are often ship poor. And well, that's the Kjas. If you have any more ideas or recommendations on how to play with this species, please comment below. We would love to read what you have to say about it.
Again, this is Boardgame Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.